So here we are on Thursday, the 4th of February 2020, in ancient and medieval history. So, Gaius Julius Caesar has defeated Pompey at Pharsalus and has driven him to Egypt. Cato and Scipio have killed themselves nobly rather than compromise with Caesar's possible monarchical intentions. Caesar goes to Egypt. Ptolemy presents Caesar with Pompey's severed head. Caesar gets apoplectic and leaves that night. Cleopatra presents herself on carpet, in a carpet, rolled up in a carpet, rolled out, and there she is. They fall in love with one another a little bit anyway. They certainly fall in lust, and they have a torrid love affair. Cleopatra, though, is not able to rule Caesar, but Caesar does make her queen because he can work with her. He can also deal with her bad temper because in the course of the fight with Ptolemy and his forces, the library at Alexandria burns to the ground. After a while, in Egypt, Caesar has to return to Rome. He wants to return to Rome. His future is in Rome, so he goes to Rome. And there, the Senate makes him dictator for life, which is more power than any Roman should really want. Caesar's back with his wife. Things are normal. And then Cleopatra shows up in Rome. Yeah. And she basically is letting all the world know that the young child at her side is, well, his name, you're going to figure out the subtlety of this, is Caesarion. Caesarion. What do you think Caesarion means? Yeah, it's Caesar's kid. She does this parading through Rome while Caesar's wife is there. This embarrasses Caesar. Her Egyptian vanity embarrasses Caesar. It's a bad experience. And ultimately, Caesar sends her packing back to Egypt with the kid that he does not acknowledge as his son. In fact, Julius Caesar has no children. He does, however, have a nephew named Octavian. And Octavian is his closest blood relative, and Octavian is also really, really sharp. In fact, Octavian has nothing on Caesar when it comes to military affairs, but he's probably better at politics than Caesar will ever be. So Octavian is one of Caesar's heirs. The other one of Caesar's heirs is Mark Antony. Antony, who is Caesar's right-hand man, his chief general. And Antony's sort of a thug. He's not a brilliant general, but he's a popular one. His men like him because he's like one of them. He likes drinking, and he likes wenching, and he likes gambling, and he likes the good life. And he's loyal to Caesar. And he'll personally rip apart anyone who gets anywhere near Caesar with hostile intent. So to shore up the army, Caesar makes Antony one of his heirs, and his other heir is his nephew Octavian. Not Caesarion, not Cleo. But still, Romans worry, even though Caesar hasn't yet done it. Is Caesar going to be satisfied with dictatorship for life? Is he going to fundamentally change the Roman Republic so much that he's a king by any other name? What are we going to do if he tries to make himself king? I mean, his faction already tried, and his faction wouldn't do anything without his say-so. So what he's doing is he's publicly flirting with becoming king. When he's at the games and a crowd shouts to him, King Caesar, and he says, no, there are no kings in Rome. Who do you think encouraged them to shout King Caesar? They didn't do it on their own. They're his faction. They do what he wants. And then he refuses a second time, and even more reluctantly refuses a third time. What's going to happen? Are the people going to demand that Caesar become king, and then the republic dies, and we now have a monarchy? This is a disturbing thought. And it's particularly disturbing to a man named Marcus Brutus. Brutus is descended from the guy who organized the exile of Tarquin the Last. That's how far back his family line goes, to the beginning of the Roman Republic. Brutus and his courage to stand up to Tarquin, the king, the Etruscan, made the Republic possible. Marcus Brutus himself is considered to be a very honorable man. And at first, he sides with Pompey. But before Pompey leaves Italy for Greece, Brutus ends up being captured by Caesar. And instead of treating Brutus like a defeated enemy, instead of Caesar treating Brutus like a defeated enemy, Caesar treats Brutus like a long-lost son, like a prodigal son. Prodigal son. He offers him generosity, he offers him forgiveness, he offers him trust, he offers him a place in his administration. Caesar treats Brutus like an ally. He gives Brutus trust that he doesn't give people that have been with him from the beginning. Brutus recognizes this, switches his allegiance, and becomes Caesar's man. And for a while, Brutus is right up there with the heirs to Caesar in terms of people that the Romans assume are loyal to Caesar. Brutus is up there. But Senators Cassius and Casca, looking at Caesar, looking at the suicides of Cato and Scipio, say this is not going to end well for Rome. Our freedom will be taken by this man if we let him. We have to do something. Remember the law. No kings in Rome. They enlist Brutus in their plot. At first, Brutus resists the idea because Caesar has given him such personal trust, such personal respect. But they again and again talk about his famous ancestor who drove out the kings. Is today's Brutus going to be the man who saves Rome from King Caesar, or is he going to be the man that damns Rome to King Caesar? So Brutus agrees, and the plot is made. The legend goes that in mid-March, the Ides of March, the middays of March, Caesar's wife has a precognitive dream, a prophetic dream. And that morning, as Caesar's at his breakfast, she begs him not to go to work. She begs him to take a sick day. She begs him to stay home. Anything but go to the Senate because of her dream. Caesar shakes his head and says, honey, I'm sorry, I've got work to do. Rome is counting on me. There are people counting on me being there. I can't take a sick day. I've got to go. See, even though she was, well, she knew that Caesar had taken Cleopatra as his mistress, she still loved him. At least she was used to him. It happens. So Caesar goes to the Senate, which is being held at Pompey Theater that day. And as Caesar is approaching the steps, his bodyguards and close aides are separated from him. People come up and ask them questions and interpose themselves. And before anyone who's not part of the plot realizes that Caesar is in the midst of a crowd as he enters the Senate, composed of the conspirators. But Brutus is there, so he's not worried. Until, without warning, out of their togas, the conspirators present daggers, and they start stabbing, and stabbing, and stabbing, and stabbing. And Caesar begins to fight. He's a strong man. He's not just a general, he's a Roman soldier, a fighting man. But he is surrounded by assassins who are armed with daggers, and he has none. And they continue stabbing him, and like a great bear taken down by wolves, the pack is going to defeat the bear. The legend has it that as he is on the ground looking up, as he's continuing, as he's bleeding out, the stabbing pauses, he looks up and he sees Brutus with a bloody dagger in his hand. His last words are, Et tu, Brute. Et tu, Brute. Even you, Brutus? Even you? And then he dies. Thus dies Caesar. No kings in Rome. Brutus and Cassius and Casca and the other plotters have succeeded. Now they've got to turn their assassination into a counter-revolution against Caesar and his faction. There's going to be a funeral. And for the moment, the plotters are in charge of things, the assassins. Lurch. And as such, they're organizing Caesar's funeral. Mark Antony and Octavian demand to speak. They demand to speak. Because they're his heirs. Shouldn't the heirs of Caesar speak at Caesar's funeral? So reluctantly, the assassins agree to let Antony speak. But only last. Brutus is going to speak first. This is the way the assassins wanted. So, the people of Rome are gathered, the proletariat of Rome that had been chanting for Caesar and rooting for him in Gaul. And some of them had called him king. Hopefully, were gathered to hear these speeches. Shakespeare writes about it in his play, Julius Caesar. And at first, Brutus speaks, and he speaks like Brutus does, passionately and well. And he talks about the needs of the republic and how there can be no kings in Rome. And the ancient law says that if a man tries to become king, you kill him. And then you have to justify it after the fact. Well, I'm here to tell you, Caesar, for all of his wonders, was either himself contemplating him being king or he had people around him who were, because they thought they'd profit from it. And that what Brutus and the other assassins did was patriotic. We followed the law of Rome, no kings in Rome. And at first, the crowd seems to be behind Brutus. Bless you. And there are tissues if you need them. And when Antony comes up to speak, and nobody expects much from Antony, again, he has a reputation as a thug. The crowd is practically warning him, don't you say anything against Brutus! And again, in Shakespeare's words, Antony starts, friends, Romans, lend me your ears. I have not come to praise Caesar. I have come to bury Caesar. But in the course of his speech, Antony turns the honor of Brutus on its head. Yes, Brutus is an honorable man. He never would have done anything wrong. He would have done what he thought was right, ever and always. Brutus is an honorable man. But is Caesar to be called ambitious because he loved the people? Because he provided them with money they wouldn't otherwise have? He provided them with entertainment, with food that otherwise they wouldn't have? He treated them like brothers and sisters? And would Caesar be called ambitious for, in his will, promising to give the majority of his vast fortune to each Roman, divided up among them? Would that be ambitious of him? He so loved the Roman people that he was willing to, in this will, and he waves the scroll, give each of you of his largesse, each of you of his treasure. With a combination of oratory and an appeal to greed, soon the crowd is screaming for the heads of Brutus and Cassius and Casca, and they have to flee Rome. Rome is now in the hands of Caesar's heirs, Antony and Octavian. And two different sorts of men there really weren't. Octavian was young, thin, not a very passionate guy at all, but brilliant when it comes to people. I mean, this guy understood how to get the best and worst out of people, and he always got the best, and he rarely got the worst. He was just that smart, that good. And he had a cold, calculating intellect, whereas Antony is this big, passionate Roman soldier guy. But they agree to work together and share power. They agree to work together and share Caesar's legacy. Now, Antony wants to be the leader of Rome, and of course, Octavian wants to be the leader of Rome. Since Caesar was the leader of Rome, they want to inherit that, but they can't yet. The first thing they've got to do is deal with the assassins. So, Antony and Octavian come together, and they take on a third guy called Marcus Lepidus. Marcus Lepidus is a moneybag, milquetoast sort of guy. He's a guy that does it because he's asked to. Lepidus doesn't want to rule Rome. Lepidus wants to live. And these two guys are demanding that Lepidus join in power with them as a member of the Second Triumvirate. So the Second Triumvirate, which is Octavian and Antony and Lepidus, comes together. And then the pursuit begins, and Octavian and Antony pursue the assassins. The Battle of Philippi, which I should have written up here. At that battle, which is in Greece, all the big Civil War battles of this era are in Greece. Antony and Octavian pursue the assassins Brutus and Cassius to Greece. And there at Philippi, the forces meet. As Antony crushes Brutus, as the armies resolve the issue in favor of Caesar's heirs against Caesar's assassins, Shakespeare takes from legend, or maybe makes a legend, that Brutus is bemoaning the fate of men who were just trying to obey the law and save the Republic. And Cassius looks him in the eye and says, "My dear Brutus, the fault lies not within our stars, but within ourselves." In other words, suck it up and deal. Take it like a man. We've lost. We tried. We lost. It happens. Deal with it. Cassius and Brutus die. Antony and Octavian now control the Roman world with Lepidus. They split the empire. Lepidus is going to control the center of the empire, Africa particularly. Antony will control the east and Caesar the west. Octavian, Caesar the west. So, how do they make an alliance? Well, Octavian has a sister, Octavian. Go figure. And she becomes Antony's wife. So Mark Antony is now married to Octavian's sister. It's a marriage alliance. And that is going to be the peace, the Second Triumvirate. Now, why did Antony want the East? Well, it's the richest part of the empire. He is the older of the two triumvirs, or the oldest of the three. But Lepidus, again, doesn't really count. But he also wants the East because he remembers just how smoking hot Cleopatra is. And with Caesar gone, he intends to make himself known to her. So Antony goes east, but instead of spreading his time around between Syria and Asia Minor and Rhodes and Cyprus and Egypt and Greece, he just goes to Egypt. And Cleopatra seduces him, although you can't really seduce somebody who's as eager as Antony. They fall into a relationship that is torrid and lusty, but unlike Caesar, Mark Antony is a man that Cleopatra can dominate. She's a man that Cleopatra can control through her wiles. And she does. Soon, Antony is granting the Egyptian queen, who is not Roman, control over Roman lands in the Eastern Empire. Rome is being reduced so that Egypt can be strong. Roman armies are being placed under the Queen of Egypt. Roman fleets as well. Now, this makes the people of the city of Rome very anxious. But it isn't until Octavian gets in front of the crowd and says, do you know why I'm upset? I'm upset because our hard-won victories in the East, which Romans bled for and died for, is being squandered on some Oriental harlot. That makes me mad. I'm mad because a Roman general is allowing himself to be led around like a boy toy because a seductress has taken control of his mind. That makes me mad. But what makes me really mad is his dishonor of my sister, who he left in Rome. She is his wife, and he left her here so that he could go sleep around with that Egyptian tart. We had better do something before it's too late. The Senate and people of Rome declare Antony a traitor. And Antony is given power, and Octavian is given an army and a navy to deal with it. Now, Octavian is no general, and he's certainly not an admiral. So he has with him a low-born military officer named Marcus Vipsanius Agrippa. Marcus Agrippa is Octavian's military advisor. So, Octavian and his men go to Greece, because that's where all the Civil War battles are fought. Antony and Cleopatra, their forces go to Greece. They're near the western edge of the Gulf of Corinth. And for reasons that I still don't think anyone who isn't Mark Antony and Cleopatra really understand, they decide to fight Octavian's men at sea rather than on the land. So Antony's and Cleopatra's armies are loaded onto their ships. Antony's ships are in front, Cleopatra's are behind. Octavian and Agrippa load their men onto their ships. And in the Bay of Actium, there is going to be a battle joined. A naval battle bigger than anything, even in the Second Punic War, or the First Punic War. A full-scale navy battle between Octavian and Mark Antony, between Caesar's nephew and Caesar's right-hand general, between a man supposedly fighting for the honor of his sister and a man fighting because he is besotten by this woman. Antony is bold and brave. That's undeniable. So what happens is, at the beginning of the battle, Octavian gets seasick. Remember, he's no general. And he ends up going below into his cabin to do what people who are seasick do, out of the sight of the men, leaving Agrippa in total command, which is the best thing he could have done, because Agrippa knows how to fight this kind of battle and he knows how to win. So what Agrippa does is bring his forces close to Octavian's and starts teasing at them. Agrippa brings his forces close to Mark Antony, and he starts teasing at them. Sorry about that. Antony, being Antony, goes, "Whoa!" and charges personally. His ship is ordered by Antony to charge at the enemy, break through, and get to Octavian's ship. The rest of Antony's fleet tries to catch up. So Mark Antony, brave of brave men, separates himself from his fleet to try to get at Octavian. The rest of Antony's fleet tries to pursue. This is exactly what Agrippa, Octavian's admiral, is waiting for. Agrippa counterattacks and carves up Antony's fleet into little bite-sized bits. Antony's ship is isolated and cut off. Antony is about to be captured or killed. He can't get close to Augustus, to Octavian, whose ship is retreating. Cleopatra sees what's going on, and instead of reinforcing Antony and engaging fully in the battle, she decides, it's lost. Let's turn around and leave. When Antony sees his mistress, the woman that he gave up everything for, turning and leaving, he goes mad. He jumps off his flagship into a lifeboat and gets that lifeboat to catch up with Cleopatra's ship and comes aboard her ship. Abandoning his army, abandoning his fleet, Antony leaves the battlefield with his mistress Cleopatra, and Octavian's forces under Agrippa destroy Antony's forces until the surviving ones surrender. Now it's just a matter of time. Antony and Cleopatra go back to Egypt. Octavian pursues. Antony orders the garrison army of Egypt to meet Octavian in the desert east of the Nile. He goes to bed at night with an army around him ready to fight Octavian the next day. Antony wakes up the next morning alone. The entire army defected and joined Octavian. Oh, it stinks to be Antony at this point. So Antony goes back to Alexandria, the capital of Egypt at that time. And he and Cleopatra have a suicide pact. Oh, so romantic. Well, Antony does. He takes the poison. Cleopatra watches him. And then she tries to escape with her son. Antony's dead. He's out of the way. She kills him in a suicide pact that she doesn't honor. Then she realizes she can't escape. Nobody really knows what happens to her son. Octavian thinks that he was killed, but nobody really knows. Cleopatra goes to a temple overlooking the Nile and clasps to her throat a little poisonous snake called an asp. The asp, which doesn't like to be grabbed in that way, stings her throat repeatedly, poisoning her. She dies of a self-inflicted snake bite wound. Octavian comes into Egypt, claims Egypt as his personal property, and makes himself, by doing so, the richest man in the Roman world. The army is loyal to Octavian. He is wealthier than anyone. He's got the country of Egypt as his personal property. He has the love of the crowd. The proletariat of Rome have become his clients. There's nobody else there. He's the only man standing, the last man standing. Octavian goes back to Rome and proclaims himself Augustus, which is the man of destiny touched by the gods. That's what Augustus means, the august one. But he never, and I mean ever, makes himself king. That's the end of the story. So, what are we going to do? We got 25 minutes. The test is 125 questions. What I'm going to do is give you the rest of class to work on studying for the exam that I expect will be tomorrow. You will take the exam by printing off the answer sheet that I give you. You will do the answer sheet that I give you. You will send the answer sheet in. After you send the answer sheet in, I may send you the corrections. You will grade it, you will correct it, and you will get me your grade. And if you do corrections, you will get me your updated grade. So I'll say this again. Tomorrow, in your email, you will find the exam, which you don't have to print. You will find the answer sheet, a single sheet of paper, which you will have to print. You will do the exam. You will photograph the exam and email it to me. I will then reply, and I want the emails, I want it done before noon. I will, after noon, send a reply to you with the correct answers. You can then correct your sheet and get me the grade. If you want, you can write corrections for wrong answers that you made along with getting me the grade. When you do that, I will enter the updated grade in your book. Now that's complicated. I've said it twice. Should I say it a third time so that you understand? Nobody's saying yes. Send you the exam early tomorrow morning. You're going to take the exam. You're going to write the answer sheet. You're going to photograph the answer sheet and send it to me. In reply to that, I will send you the corrections. You can then either just grade it and give me the corrections, or you can grade it and write correct answers, and I will give you an updated grade. That's the plan.
Are you going to tell us how to calculate our grades?
Oh, yes, of course. Absolutely. Each of them is going to be worth 0.8. I can tell you right now. So, any questions? Okay, you can talk among yourselves and work quietly. You at home can work quietly and be ready for the exam tomorrow when I expect you to take it. Bye.